We're discussing today's top stories. Nick Ferrari joins us from his studio. Camilla is here with us. Good to see you both this morning. It's another day and more prisoners seem to be released from prison without anybody actually understanding. Serious pressure falling on the Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy, though, Camilla.
Yes, well, he was in the spotlight yesterday because he was covering for Keir Starmer at PMQs. Keir Starmer was in Brazil. He's about to attend the COP30 climate change conference. We had this extraordinary, bizarre session, really, in the Commons where he was repeatedly asked by his opposite number, in this case it was Shadow Defence Secretary James Cartledge, whether he knew of any other foreign criminals who'd been accidentally released from prison. And this follows the case of the Epping migrant who was accidentally released from HMP Chelmsford a couple of weeks ago, and it was all a huge farce. He's repeatedly asked in the Commons whether he knows of any others. He basically deflects the question, doesn't answer it. Then at the end, Cartledge stands up with a point of order, saying the Telegraph, my newspaper, has just broken a story to suggest that there is another escapee, a 24-year-old Algerian who's a sex offender who was released in error last Wednesday from HMP Wandsworth. So now there are more questions than answers because people are now saying to themselves, well, what did Lammy know and when did he know it? The Department for Justice has said, actually, he did know some of the facts as he was entering the chamber. He wasn't quite sure of them, so he couldn't really respond. But I'm thinking to myself, well, the Telegraph had that news snap from 12 onwards. I think we put it up at 12:30. You're the Justice Secretary. This guy had escaped, in inverted commas, last week. The Met found out about it on Tuesday. You must have known. Why didn't you answer the questions? And this isn't, by the way, they're trying to deflect it and say, I don't know what Nick thinks. They're trying to say, oh, well, this is about early release and the Tories started it, so this is all their problem. There's a lot of blame. The blame game in the Commons yesterday was quite extraordinary. But this isn't about early release. This is about accidental release.
So, Nick, what was your take on it? It does seem like David Lammy had an important job to do yesterday, to be seen there, taking those questions at PMQs and standing in for the Prime Minister. And the fact that he didn't answer those questions, it's not unusual for anybody to stand at the dispatch box and deflect a question that they don't want to answer. But in light of what's been happening over the last few weeks with the unknown freeing of these prisoners, it seems very stark, doesn't it?
Well, Camilla has nailed it as ever, because while it is fair the government said that they had inherited a prison system in crisis, they did. They've been in power for 14, 15 months. And crucially here, this prisoner was released 3 days after the Justice Secretary, David Lammy, said, and I quote, they put the strictest checks ever in place to ensure it would never happen again. So you can't deflect this at all. This is not down to 14 years of misgovernment or whatever. It is not down to inheriting a prison crisis. It's down to a set of measures that you put in that are not being observed. And I suggest the prison crisis is almost a prison governor crisis, because clearly we've got problems with Wandsworth Jail. There are 2 people on the run. Someone else, and I'm not, by the way, saying that fraud isn't a serious crime, but he is a fraudster as opposed to a former sex offender, so we get that. And, of course, we had the fiasco at Chelmsford that Camilla correctly reminded us of. So that is the reality. And I spoke to a former prison governor today who pointed out, and he obviously still knows people in the trade, in some instances, prison governors are working 4-day week and working a day from home. I would put it to you that if we're looking after people who we've locked up because they are sex offenders, in some instances committing offences against teenage girls, it's not a lot to expect a governor to be at his or her desk 5 days a week.
How can you be a prison governor or officer from home?
4 days a week.
It's one of those jobs that you have to do in person.
The prison is busy
with
7 days a week.
Great big keys. I mean, this is insane, isn't it?
And the interesting thing that the present government, whatever the government is, always deflects back to the previous government when they're talking about issues that they are with various policies. Statistics show
this is frightening.
That 26 prisoners per month, or 262 prisoners annually, were freed by mistake in the year leading up to March 2025.
Yes.
That's a 128% increase on the 115 in the previous 12 months. So since they've been in power, this is a statistic from the Prison Service.
Yes.
Things have increased 128%.
But we've seen this week. This is the kind of Labour shtick. We had it with the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, when she gave her speech. What's the current parlous state of the economy in the UK is the fault of Brexit, it's the fault of Donald Trump, it's the fault of global headwinds, it's definitely the fault of the Tories, it's the fault of Liz Truss, it's even the fault of George Osborne's austerity measures that were brought in a decade ago. And I think the public is saying, now, hang on a minute, you've been in power for over a year now, it's nearly 18 months. At what point do you start taking responsibility for the events that have occurred after July 2024. I mean, that graph showing the number of prisoners who have been released and accidentally released shoots up at 2025. I'm sorry, but that doesn't wash with the electorate. It also speaks to a wider malaise, if I may say. You know, we had this horrific episode on the train in Huntingdon at the weekend, which has struck the fear of God into all of us, just the prospect of it and it happening again. We've got prisons not seemingly knowing who's in, who's out, who's being released and who isn't. It speaks to this wider narrative around broken Britain, I think.
Nick?
I think we can tie the two stories together because Camilla, again, is right. They did inherit a terrible prison crisis, but they then introduced the early release scheme. And I think what we'll find is the early release scheme introduced by this government is clearly getting it wrong because they have got to clear people out. And for minor offences, that makes sense because we haven't got enough prison spaces. But where it's gone wrong is when we get into the detail of the release scheme, I think that's where we'll see what's causing the problems. And it's not been properly or fully executed or implemented. That's what I think we'll find in a few weeks' time.
Nick, David Lammy wasn't doing the rounds this morning. Are we expecting to hear from him at any point on this?
Well, his minister, one of his colleagues told me that he's out opening a new jail or a new prison. As Camilla will know, they only do this because they want to get the TV crews there and the news crews and the reporters and the radio reporters, all of that. So if he thinks he could, well, he has successfully dodged what's called the media round. Just to remind your viewers, that's where whatever minister it is turns up. Well, he won't, if he's opening a key or opening a door or putting a shovel in the ground or whatever with a new jail, he will have the journalists there. So he'll have to ask questions at some point later this morning, Ben, I would have thought.
I know, but it's nuts because also when the point of order was made, the Speaker of the House of Commons, Lindsay Hoyle, said, really, the Justice Secretary should come back to the House and explain himself, and that still hasn't happened. And as Nick says, they put Alex Davies-Jones up, who is a Justice Minister, and that's good. But I think, actually, he's not just Justice Secretary, he is Deputy Prime Minister. Keir Starmer is not in the country, brackets, again. So somebody needs to answer to the public.
Another answer we need...
Seems like we might have had it.
What? The age-old answer?
Yeah.
The age-old question?
Yeah.
Are women or men better drivers?
I think we both know the answer to that.
I put it to you. Apparently, new research has found that male drivers are more confident than women, yet responsible for the majority of accidents.
Shock horror. Nick, any comment?
How can we be in the least bit surprised? There is a sort of assumption. I honestly think that I'm going to side, I imagine, with the girls here and say that probably female drivers are the better drivers. Certainly from my experience, having spent a lot of years driving the coast, I've never, to my knowledge, I've never been subject to any aggression from a female driver, even if I've accidentally cut them out, pulled out in front of them or whatever, whereas I cannot say the same of my fellow blokes. So, yes, I am not in the least bit surprised about the research. Little bit embarrassed because, yeah, we are too aggressive, and I'm not surprised we're at the heart of most of the majority of the accidents, I should say.
See, we've heard it from a Ferrari.
Exactly.
At the end of the day. But it is quite something, isn't it? The Department for Transport suggesting that 76% of all road fatalities are caused by men, which would then... One makes the calculation that one assumes that 24% are made by women. Funny enough, I'm at this point right now because my eldest has turned 17. She's doing a theory test tonight, and I'm having to insure her car, her new car. Not new, obviously, it's second-hand, but not maniac. But I need to insure on it, and then her brother will inherit it. They're going to share it, and I'm going to be really intrigued to see those two different insurance costs. Clearly, it is cheaper to insure a teenage first driver if they're female than male, precisely because of these statistics.
Do you think it's because we're a little bit more cautious?
Well, yeah, I think there's the road rage factor that Nick speaks to. I mean, I think, look, it doesn't matter what gender you are. You can have bad drivers and good drivers. Totally. But I don't think we have that tendency. Also, I don't often witness, for instance, being tailgated at speed on a motorway by women. It seems to be a bit of a male preserve.
I mean, you're looking squarely at me.
But that's because you're the only man in this. Nick is down the line, and we can eyeball him later.
You're behind that screen.
He's already agreed with us anyway.
I think there's an interesting thing, because I think there's a statistic here. It'd be interesting now that your daughter's learning to drive, because Jack and Sam have recently been through their driving test. Men still believe, 70% of men still think they would pass their practical test again if they have to take it tomorrow. Only 58% of women said the same. I think women are naturally much more cautious about what they do and what they... having taken the boys out, both of them, as they're learning to drive, I don't think I would pass the practical test these days because actually the rules of how you have to govern on the road have changed significantly. But the confidence between the two of them is fascinating as well. The way Jack drives or the way Sam would drive as well. Jack is naturally a bit more confident, so he drives with a bit more speed, still within in the speed limit, but Sam was a bit more cautious and wouldn't be quite so aggressive on the accelerator pedal. And it is one of those things, as a parent watching young men come through driving, we talk about it with them all the time, the idea of not having too many friends in the back of the car until you are a much more confident driver, because they want to put their music on and they want to chat to their friends. And we all went through it. We all did it.
I passed my test on my... I've got two older brothers, the middle one's birthday, and he was like, you have to pass because I need you to take me and my mates to Kudos nightclub in Watford, wait outside all night and then bring us back drunk at 1 a.m. So that was quite the baptism of fire.
But you did it.
To be fair, I passed my test really quickly. I love driving and I got my advanced motoring certificate and all sorts, and I did pass about 6 weeks after I turned 17.
It's a very different thing now, isn't it?
Yeah,
Nick?
It's funny you mention your lad, as you know, my stepson Jim has passed his driving test and he's got a little car and he likes to play CDs. Older viewers, ask your grandparents. But his favourite is Saturday Night Fever. So when I'm driven around, it's like I'm back in John Travolta listening to Saturday. It's like we're back in the late 70s.
Yes.
Brilliant.
I seem to remember in Saturday Night Fever, they're going out in cars as well.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, totally.
OK, let's ask a question here about your pets. Camilla, you have pets?
I have a cat, Baroness Lionel of Blair.
Baroness Lionel of Blair. Nick, do you have pets?
I don't now, but I grew up with pets and I've had all sorts of dogs and cats. I adore pets, but it doesn't fit my lifestyle. Families
of pets, and I know you had a wonderful dog that you lost a few years ago.
Yeah.
But would you pay £40,000 to clone your pet, which is exactly what Tom Brady has done with his dog, Junie, who is a pit bull mix. He lost his previous dog in 2023, and they've had the clone of their original dog.
I don't think I'd pay £4,000 or indeed £4 to clone any animal. I thought the joy of pets were their variety. You know, we can think back. I've had cats all of our lives. You know, we had some cats that basically hated our guts.
Yes.
We had other cats like Lionel, who is just the most adorable cat ever.
Yep.
Like his namesake.
Like his namesake. To be fair, we obviously thought it was a boy and then discovered it was a girl, but we called her Lionel anyway because it means little lion.
He wouldn't have minded.
It was a tribute to Lionel.
Yes.
And so, no, I don't want the same pet twice, in the same way I don't want the same child twice or the same friend over and over and over again.
Would you have wanted any of your family pets to sort of come back, Nick, if you could have? Would you? We had one really gorgeous dog called Daisy. It was a little Jack Russell that looked like a Frisian cow, hence being called Daisy.
Aww.
And I think if I, at the time, when we lost Daisy, if I could have had Daisy back, I would have, because she was so affectionate and so loyal.
Yeah, I grew up with Bruno, the German Shepherd, who was so intelligent. If he could have done, he'd have answered the phone and taken a message. He was such a bright dog. And my kids grew up with Manhattan, the Golden Retriever. I think if it had been around, the pressure to clone Manhattan would have been immense from my two boys. But I do hear what Camilla says. And, I mean, gosh, how do I phrase this? It's terrible when you lose a pet. It's awful when you lose your cat. But then the joy when you sort of learn the character of hopefully the dog or the cat that comes along to Camilla's point. It's kind of fun to see their different personalities. So I see both sides. I do see both sides here, but I think I'm with Camilla. I don't think it's something I would actually do, or try to resist anyway.
Well, I actually went down that road because I had a mutt, a puggle got out next door to a basset hound. So you could never... She wasn't a pedigree, no. And she was so special, exactly the way you just said, Nick, of like taking an order. I could talk to her and it would be as though she could absolutely understand everything I said. So I looked into it and I was like, well, let's think about this. If it's £160, if a dog lives 15 years and it's £160 a month, I'm not the type of person who could give up a dog if, for whatever reason, it didn't fit with the family or the personality wasn't right with my children or whatever. So I looked into it and I was like, well, £160 a month.
If you were to spread it across its lifetime.
If you were going to get the same dog, would it? And then I came back around to kind of the romantic notion of, but she was a one-off and she was so special.
Yeah, but the Daisies and the Manhattans of this world, you won't remember as fondly if you're replicating the same dog over and over again.
Yeah. Interesting.
Let's talk word of the year.
Yeah, word. I didn't even know what this was.
Well, you didn't know that these words existed because you're not down with the kids.
Is that what it is?
I, however, am all over this.
OK, turn it over then, and I'm going to ask you what...
Yes, go!
If you are all over this, Ben Shepherd...
Well, do you know, the reason why...
Go on.
So the reason why I always try and remember Word of the Year is because I know I'm going to go to the pub quiz in a couple of weeks and they're going to ask you what is the 2025 Word of the Year.
What is the 2025 Word of the Year?
The 2025ve Word of the Year is vibe coding.
Does it have a hyphen?
No.
Yes, it does.
Yes,
it's
it
only
does.
A word.
Yeah.
That's an absolutely left-field question because you answered correctly. If it's one word, hyphenated one word, vibe coding with two words.
So that's why it counts as Word of the Year.
So I'm channeling my inner Giles Brandreth now. And what does it mean?
Vibe coding is it's the process of getting a ChatGPT or something to code a process that is all to do with a feeling. So, for example, the example that we talked about earlier, the example is ChatGPT, please put together the list of the top 10 things that people can then decide which is the coolest.
This is the longest... Collins Dictionary
They
would
don't
take your
ask you that in the pub quiz.
and say, could you just edit it down?
They don't ask you to explain
Shall
it.
I give you the Collins definition for the love of God, everybody?
Word coding is what?
Vibe coding refers to the use of AI to turn natural language into code.
There you go. You will know then, Nick, about aura farming, undoubtedly, because Jimmy will use the phrase aura farming like Jack does.
I'm trying to slide out of shot here. I don't know any of these words.
I'm with you, Nick.
No, Sam and Jack and their mates use aura farming, which is a popular internet phrase for trying to cultivate cool, charismatic looks. But they do it very ironically. So when we did the 24-hour Tough Mudder, we were Team Aura, and all of us had aura, and they were talking all the time. So if they see a picture on telly or they like an outfit they're wearing, they're looking good aura there, Dad. You're aura farming.
Can I just say the final one is my favourite, right? Micro-retirement, a term used by Gen Z and millennials to describe taking a break between periods of employment in order to pursue personal interests. Micro-retirement, also known as unemployment. What? What is this? Yeah. It's a work break, everybody.
Did you do anything on Words of the Year this morning, Nick?
We didn't do Words of the Year. Micro-retirement also could be known as a holiday for some people when you take a bit of time off and do something that you enjoy. I suggest that bit. No, nor did I do something on coolcation, everybody. A holiday in place with a cooler climate. Well, that's just called, I don't know, Wales, isn't it? Paswelly or something like that.
That's just staycation.
Or Scotland or the Highlands.
The UK.
Yeah, most of the United Kingdom.
But now we can call it a coolcation and feel very on it. So if you're going to the pub quiz, you know what it is. Vibe coding.
Absolutely.
Thank you both. And thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.